I'm going to bring in our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, this has really been just about the worst start Liz Truss could have hoped for, isn't it?
This has been an absolutely disastrous week or 2 weeks for Liz Truss since that mini budget coming up to almost 2 weeks ago, announced by Kwasi Kwarteng, the Chancellor of the Exchequer or the Finance Minister of the United Kingdom. And that mini budget has sent interest rates up and the pound spiralling downwards and has led to a very embarrassing U-turn by the government. Now, the measures that have been announced in that mini budget all concentrate on a figure of £43 billion of unfunded tax cuts. That is why the markets are so jittery and worried about what is going on. The government hasn't really said how it plans to be able to fund those tax cuts. And it went ahead and said, we're also going to cut the 45 pence top rate tax for those earning £150,000 a year or more, which means that the richest people in the UK would have a tax bonus, whereas the poorest people in the UK would end up paying more money for their fuel bills, having more expensive mortgages, and being the victim of rising inflation. And on top of that, the government has announced a fuel bill cap of £2,500 per family on average, down from a threat of £6,000. But many are saying that's still not enough to avert a crisis for many families around the United Kingdom who are going to face a very, very difficult winter as a result of the fact that the pound has fallen and interest rates are rising, and inflation is also on the way up. So there is a lot of pressure on Liz Truss today to come up with some kind of solution, some kind of answer to all those problems.
So what does this mean? Has Liz Truss lost control of the Conservative Party already?
Well, let's say there's squabbling going on within the Conservative Party between the backbenchers and some of the members of the party. Some have come out in support of Liz Truss. For example, Suella Braverman, the new Interior Minister, the Home Secretary, she has criticised those who've forced the Prime Minister to do away with this 45 pence tax cut for the richest people in the UK, saying it was tantamount to a coup. But there are others, for example, like Penny Mordaunt, the leader of the House of Commons, and Robert Buckland, the Wealth Secretary, who have both said that what Liz Truss needs to do now is to come up with some kind of concrete measure to make sure that all those who are wanting to have benefits in the country, who are on benefits, are going to see those benefits linked to inflation and not to a rise in salaries. That means 10% increase and not a 5% increase. But the Prime Minister still hasn't said what she's going to do. So there's infighting, there is quarrelling, and it's all becoming an incredible mess. And I think supporters of the Conservative Party don't really know where to turn and what to think is going on. And now, as Liz Truss is about to take to the stage today, she needs to give an account to say that she knows what happened with this mini budget was not okay. She needs to give an account of how things went wrong and what she intends to do to remedy the situation. Now, one other point here, which is important to underline, is that it's going to be very difficult to get rid of Liz Truss because she's just been elected to the post of Prime Minister just a month ago. She should be having a honeymoon period right now. She's not having any of that. And I think there's fear within the Conservative Party that if she doesn't manage to convince people that she is the right woman to do the job, then she will be totally unelectable at the next elections in 2 years' time, and that is where the Conservatives are going to fall foul of the pollsters.
So where does this leave the opposition Labour Party and perhaps the prospect of early elections?
Well, there have been calls for early elections by one of her supporters, saying that really what Liz Truss needs to do now is to go back to the polls to try to win the election, to give herself some kind of legitimacy. Because if you look at the polls here, the Conservatives are on 21%, whereas Labour have shot upwards to 54%. So if there was an election today, then this would obviously mean that the Conservatives would lose and it would be a victory for Labour. So what is going to happen? I think Liz Truss is going to kick the issue of benefits into the long grass for the next few months, maybe until the spring. She's going to try to reunite her party today with that hotly awaited speech. It's going to be very difficult for her, Jeannie. She's got a lot of convincing to do. I think we'll get the answer to that within the next couple of hours.
All right, Philip, thanks for that. France 24's Philip Turle.